Hello there. I'd like to put it to you that to maximise your happiness in your life, you have to work on your mentality at all times, and you need to make the right choices. Those two things, mentality and choices, are the key things which will enable you to maximise your happiness in your life. And I'm going to take you through some maths to illustrate and to prove the point that I am making. So it's maths time. Thought you had enough of maths for your life, didn't you? Well, here's some more. This is based on the average person and the average mentality of the average person and the life expectancy of an average person. So the average person is expected to live for 80 years on average, about the time that we live on the planet. Now, in the first 18 years of our life, we as just kids. We're just growing up. Learning, developing, we're at school, we're at college. We're not in charge of our life, so we're not in charge of actually what we do to get ourselves to be happy. So we can discount that. And I know some of you, and I'm one of them, that says, hang on a minute, school years, best years of my life. Didn't think they was at the time, but they are now. But we're discounting that because actually it's not adulthood. So take 18 years off of the 80, you're left with 62 years in which to enjoy your life and to be happy. But out of those years, you're going to spend 8 hours a day sleeping. Now that equates to 20 years. So you're going to be 20 years of sleep, which means that you've only got 42 years left to enjoy happiness in your life. On average, we will go to work 8 or 9 hours a day. That equates to 14 years at work. Now, you minus that out, and that just gives you 28 years in which to be happy in your life. Now, out of that, we spend on average 3 hours a day at the laptop, on the phone, watching TV. And we ain't necessarily happy when watching TV. We're in a vegetative state, and most of the TV we're watching is crap. Doesn't make us happy. How's you happy? You're some sort of sick person if you get happiness out of watching EastEnders and love seeing people killing and murdering and maiming and a robbing and a cheating. We watch TV, we're in a vegetative state. So we can minus 8 years off of the 28 for TV, laptops, etc. That only gives us 20 years in which to be happy. And out of that, we can spend up to 2 hours a day preparing and eating our meals, morning, lunch and night. That comes to 2 years on eating. And that only gives us 18 years in which to be happy. And we spend about 2 hours a day going back and forward to work. Some people in Petersfield, where I live, go to London on a train. Takes them a minimum of an hour on a train, then they've got to walk to where they're going. So 2 hours a day, that equates to another 2 years on travelling to work, which reduces us down to just 16 years in which to be happy. And life, we have to do chores, 2 hours probably a day on chores. That equates to another 2 years of our life on chores, which brings us down to just 14 years. Now, here's the thing, out of that 14 years, statistics time and time again prove that the average person, we have 50 to 40,000 thoughts a day, and 87%, let's call it 90% of those thoughts will be negative thoughts. Negative. Why? Because we live in a negative world, surrounded by negativity, fired at us at all time. So day and night, starting from when we were young to now, negativity has been fired at us. We're conditioned by life to be negative. So 90% of our thoughts are negative. So that would equate to, of those 14 good years we got left, 9 years is going to be spent being negative. And when you're negative, you're not happy. And that means at the end of it, we are just left with 5 years in which we're happy to be happy in, out of 80 years. And if you ain't careful, that is not a lot, is it? And a big impact that we can have on our life that we haven't spoken about is our partner, the partner that we choose. And that's why choice is important. Because let's just say that you could be with your partner for 40 years, yeah? And of that 40 years, 13 years you're going to be asleep, and say another 13 years you're going to be at work. That comes to 26 years. So that means you'll only have 14 years in which to be with your partner. And a lot of the time, you're only there 50% of the time. So out of 40 years, you might only be with your partner for 7 years. They can be good years or they can be miserable years. And that's why choice is important. If you are not having a good relationship with your partner, you have a choice to change it. Either change you, change your mentality and change the relationship, or change the goddamn partner, because that has a massive impact on your life. Now, the thing about this is, on average, we are saying take an average person and they get just 5 years out of 80 if they have an average perspective on life. And that means they tend to be negative. Some people just love being negative, don't they? Negative nannies. You know them, I know them, we all seen them just hating on life. And they get nothing out of life, and they reduce that down to nothing. They live a life that's been worthless because they haven't been happy in it. All right, now the good thing about this is we can use this model and we can ratchet back up years from 5, increase those years up by being happy if we employ the right mentality and the right choice that we're using. And that's why the mentality and choice is so important in this model. The first thing is, if you want to increase your happiness years, here is a very good tip. Live longer. If you live longer, you automatically increase the number of years on this model that you're going to be happy. But you can buy back years. How do I buy back years? Mentality and choice. Because if 90% of our thoughts are negative, you have a choice to change your mentality into a positive one. Why don't you switch it around and make 10% of your thoughts negative and 90% positive? You will have bought back loads and loads of years. Chores and travelling to work. If you've got a bad mentality and you're hating on travelling, those people that are on the train for an hour each way going from Petersfield to London, if they hate the journey, they're not happy, are they? But if you change your mentality, learn to use that time productively to do things that they like and love, and learn to look out and enjoy the scenery, the people that they're with, the things that happen on a journey, you can actually buy back more happiness years. And eating, dieting is miserable. For me and everyone else that's on a diet, we know it's miserable. But if you choose to eat sensibly, which I failed to do on this one, I have to confess, if you choose to eat healthily, not only will it help you live longer, but you'll enjoy what you eat, won't you? Yeah. And as with regards to TV, we don't watch so much and choose to watch stuff that's inspirational and motivational. And I would say just avoid most of the TV and go onto YouTube and find that motivational and inspirational stuff that will lift your spirit, make you more happier. And in terms of work, a lot of people just say like work's work. They separate it. There's work and then there's life, But if they, and how many people do you see at work that are miserable, really damn miserable? And that's a big part of their life. It could be 14 years of their life in which they hate it. Some people hate their job. They endure it. They just get through it. And by the way, they bring everyone else down in the workplace. Everyone else is just thinking, look, can you just not talk to me, or can you just leave? But it's a big part if you don't like it. So the tip here is to increase your happiness is change your mentality towards your job if you hate it. Look at the things that you do in a different way. And put the worthwhile in the work that you're doing, and you'll start to enjoy it. And if you don't do it, then choose a different job and go and get a different job, because you've got one life and you need to be happy in it. And it's all about passion. So follow your passion and do the things you're passionate about, and then you'll love it, and then you'll enjoy it, and then you'll increase your happiness. And with regards to sleep, one way to buy back years is don't sleep as long, innit? But if you live in a miserable life, you might as well be asleep. You talk to famous people. Margaret Thatcher, she just had 3 hours sleep a night. You talk to a lot of famous people, then sleep 3-4 hours a night because they want to be up so they can enjoy life and be successful. So one way to increase it is don't sleep as long. But actually, I love my 8 hours sleep. But if you live in a miserable life during the day, the odds on are that when you're sleeping, you're just having nightmares and you ain't happy and restful when you sleep, so you ain't even happy there. If you're living a good life, you'll have a restful sleep. You might even have some fantastic dreams. So you're increasing the years all the time. And the point about all of this is that if you and if we are not happy in our lives, then it simply asks yourself the question, what's the point? Because if you're not happy, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it, then we don't want to do it. And that's why some people actually check out on life. So it's important that we focus on our happiness every single day. We're looking at our mentality and we're making the right choices. And I hope the maths behind made some sense. I hope no one actually checks up on the maths because I wasn't too good at it at school. But I hope you get the point. Be happy, be happy, be happy.